Hi crafty friend. Ooh, look at all those cards. That's a teaser for you. I have a ton of cards to show you in this video. I'm Justine Dvorak over here on Stationery by Justine, where when I craft my world stands still. So if you're watching this, be on the lookout for your favorite card. I have a bunch. But we're going to dive right into the Woodland collection by making some wax seals. And I have been showing a bunch of these mixed wax seals on my channel with mixing of a whole bunch of colors and just getting these kind of marbled looks. So I wanted to show you how I made that here today. So I'm going to take some of that blue smoke and the gold and some of the pearl and then a couple copper, just one each. This ends up being way too many beads, but you're going to see me make a mistake and make it work. So stay tuned for that. But I love making the mixed wax seals because it is just so different every single time I do a pour of the wax. It is different. So I'm going to put all of these in. Yes, I know that's a lot of wax beads, but I try to put them in opposite of each other, and that does kind of give me a first good pour. Now, unfortunately, that first good pour ends up being a little interesting, but yeah, 7 is not my usual, but my spoon is completely clean, and I'm just going to talk through that as we go here. But here are some of the cards I've already finished. Now, the Woodland Tales collection has gorgeous pattern paper. It has 6x6 pattern paper, 12x12. It has these vellum and this acetate that has glimmer on it. It is so gorgeous. There's tons of stuff in there. There's a wax seal, there's better press, there's a stamp set. I'm going to try to use as much of it in this video as I can. So all the pattern paper that you see on my cards there are from the collection, and then I did make 8 slimline cards. These are huge because I loved the pattern paper from the 12x12 pack. Checking on my wax, it's still good. But look at that mushroom card. I just really love these. I have pretty pictures at the end of this video, so if you're looking for more of a finished look, you can look there at the end. But I did pair some existing sentiments that I already had in my collection, like the Happy Thanksgiving, and some of them I just left blank. Look at that pattern paper doing all the work for me. That little fox is just really interesting and is filling up the whole card front. And then I did use some of the sentiments from the die cut pack. There's a sentiment pack, and then there's also a better press set, a stamp set, and a die cutting. So if you like any of those, you can go for it. I paired that one with a better press sentiment I already had, and then these really big sentiments, I went a landscape mode for that, so it got the whole thing. My wax is almost done. But I just wanted to share that I use this die from Trinity Stamps. It's the Slimline Series die. It's the biggest one from that pack. I use this die set a lot for making shaker cards, but that biggest piece is what I use to cut all of my pattern paper. Well, I'm ready to pour. So here's where I decide, okay, I'm going to pour. I anchor my hand down on, just kidding, have my paper towel ready. Anchor my hand down, I twist it, and then I pour it. And I realized I had enough for 2, but then, whoops, they smushed into each other. So, we're just going to try that again. It's not a big deal. It can still be something beautiful at the end. So I'll wipe off some of the ash there. Your spoon will get soot on it. It will get wax on it. It's not going to be pretty forever. So, just saying. I do have a little bit of wax in my spoon, so I just added 5 wax beads in there. And then since I figured, there's 6 of them, I guess, and there's 7. I did have another one of these wax seals, that mushroom one, I wanted to pull out again from my collection. I just love having extra stuff around, so I figured why not make another wax seal with the mushroom. And I have the wax seal from this collection, which is the ginkgo leaves. Super fun. I always get a little bit impatient when this is happening, so we'll just let that melt. It was getting a little bit smoky, which tells me there's soot underneath. I just wiped it off with my paper towel, but one way to combat that is to trim your wick down on your actual candle. and not have such a long wick. So we'll try it again and pour them separate. So that first one you saw I did in more of a circle shape, and the second one I did in the oval, which is when I'm making a line when I do it. Now this one that didn't turn out very good, I'm just going to chop up with my Spellbinder shears and just try again. It might not be as defined with the colors, it might kind of blend together, but it ends up being really cool. Oh, look at that. So pretty. I don't know why I put it on the back of my hand for showing you, but I just did. The mushroom one did turn out very well. I will do some close-up pictures of these in just a little bit, but I wanted to show you how I redid the one that did not go so well, or I guess the two. There it goes. I just kind of pushed it in with that tool one. But you can also use toothpicks. So this definitely mixed a little more. It's kind of a gold silvery color. It's so pretty. But you can see with the ones on the left, it was definitely more distinct colors between the wax beads. So for cleaning it out, I take my paper towel and just give it kind of a little wipe down while it's hot. If you wait till it cools, it will not work. And again, this is hot, it is fire, it is smoky. Use in a ventilated area, just saying. I'll put my little candle to the side, check those out. Yep, everything turned out great. Side note, if I'm doing more than a few of these wax seals, I will have a little bowl of ice on the side, and I put it in there just so it doesn't get too warm, because when the metal part is hot, it does not really seal as defined as well as, I don't know, that's what I think. So I have these little containers that I store everything in, and we will move along to adding these onto my card bases. But before I do that, I wanted to add some definition to the wax seals themselves. So I like the Deco Art paint pens. I have the rose gold, silver, and gold. But I also like to pull out just a black Sharpie. And I end up putting the gold over this black Sharpie, but I wanted to leave it in the video because this is something that most households have, a black permanent marker. So if you are crafting on a budget and you don't want to go out and spend money on another paint pen or something like that, try a Sharpie. Even maybe you might have a metallic Sharpie at home. Give it a try and see what happens. On this one, I did use the gold Deco color one. Super pretty. And I like these better than the, I think it's Pilot. Pilot has another one, and it is a very fine point, but I feel like that one to me leaks paint quite often, and this one I don't find leaks. So that's what I use. So for adhering wax seals, you can use liquid glue. I'm going to seal the other, or put the other one onto my card in a different way. As you can see with wax seals, sometimes there's mishaps. So I always like to make my wax seals on that silicone mat that came with the oven, but you can also use little stickers to adhere them on. But I have never, and probably will never, pour my wax right onto a project because too many things can happen, and I'm not willing to risk my pattern paper or my die cuts and pour right onto my project. It's just not something I'm wanting to do. Then I'll take a little bit of liquid glue and just put a tiny bit of glue on the tips of these little ferns. I'm not going to go crazy with the glue. Plus it kind of gives it a little dimension because not everything is pasted down. So that little fern is also from the collection as well. I did not get really too much of a chance to dive into the vellum from the vellum pack, but that is just so pretty. Now I'm going to go very artsy fartsy on this card, so stay tuned. I'm going to use the stamp set. We're going to have this wood stamp, and I'm going to use some Distress Oxide or Distress inks, the one that is called Vintage Photo. And I'm going to make 2 of these wooden stamps on the bottom. And I'm going to kind of create a glow effect in the middle of this card for a special little critter. And you might see that critter on the stamp set. It's going to be that bird there. So this whole card is going to be brown tones, which is really not my thing. So every once in a while I like to kind of stretch my brain and use neutral tones, which is again not my favorite, but I love this card, and it actually was my favorite card of all of the cards from this video. So that was quite surprising to me. All right, this bird, I'm going to stamp in black ink. I have my Memento black ink, which is my go-to ink for any time I'm stamping images that I want to add Copic to. I wasn't sure about how I wanted to shade in this bird yet, so I figured I'd use my Copic friendly ink to give it a shot just in case I wanted to pull out Copics, which I end up doing. Not a crazy blend, but just enough. Now, side note on this pattern paper, I did find it to be a thicker quality than most pattern paper that I've got in the past. I'm looking on the website, it does not say the poundage of it, but it was very high quality and thicker than what I'm used to working with, so I was glad about that. I'm going to take my little ink blender, I almost said makeup brush because it kind of is a makeup brush, but just go on the edges of this just to give it a little bit of a worn look, and that will help create the glow in the middle. And again, that was with Vintage Photo. Now this distress ink with this fern stamp really doesn't show too much, but at least with the final project, but I do think that it did add a little something. I am wiping in between because all of that Vintage Photo that I just put down is transferring from my project back to my stamp, and I don't want my ink pad to be brown. So that's why I was wiping it each time. Give it a little wipe up here before we move on. I'm going to put that same stamp set to work and use the Vintage Photo again and create kind of a little hidden meadow, if you will, for my little bird to be resting in. And by adding all of these layers on, it just kind of gives kind of a woodsy look or a swampy look. Swamp sounds horrible. We'll say woodsy. Side note on that spray bottle, I noticed my nozzle is not giving a misting look anymore. And I asked my husband to look at it because he is the king of fixing everything in our house that is broken. He took a safety pin and just put the pin in the nozzle area, and there was a little bit of some scale buildup, and I think it's just because we have harder water, and now it sprays perfectly. So if you have that problem, just grab a safety pin and do that. I'm just going to give this a little bit of a splatter. As usual, I did not pull out my splatter box because, I don't know, I'm making a mess every day in my craft room, so what's another couple spatters of brown ink everywhere? Then I go in and I do a little bit of cheating, and I add my paintbrush kind of all over. I wanted it to be even darker on the edges for my little birdie here. Then I'm going to set this whole project off to the side and let that dry before I kind of continue the process of this because it is a little bit damp. So as I wait for that to dry, I will show you, look at this. Okay, this is the embossing folder from this collection. As I talk about this, I'm going to get my fox all settled, so this is going to be really fast for a couple seconds. But that embossing folder is gorgeous with the Simon Hurley Simon Hurley Lunar Paste, and then I used the die that coordinates with that embossing folder, put some vellum down, made a shaker window, and I did all of that, and then I put the trees upside down. Can you tell? Oh, goodness gracious. I did not even realize until I was completely done and looking at this on my iPad here, but you know what? That's life. So the trees are upside down, whatever. It's a mystical card. So as I put this fox together, I will just mention that this was all made with scraps, which is my favorite part about crafting with dies. I absolutely love, it's so satisfying to me. I love die cutting out things like this and then basically having a piece of scrap at the end that has so many holes, so little paper left to it, that it's just this little thing that I can just put in my recycling bin and I can be done with it. I love finishing up scraps of paper to make room for more, of course. This fox is easy peasy to assemble, so I just started with the body, and my tail was way up high at first, which I think that would look fine, but I ended up putting it down for less of a aggressive look. I wanted the fox to be kind of soft, very demure, very mindful. Anyway, and then put a little black scrap on the nose because I know that fox do have a black tip on their nose. Then I looked at it and I thought the fox needs a little ground. So I made this black strip and I felt that that was too clunky. And then I grabbed some pattern paper as a scrap and I thought, well, maybe he can be on this cute scrap. Didn't look good to me. I don't know. So I ended up grabbing a Copic marker and just suggesting that there was a little bit of shadow underneath him. And I do like the way that that turned out. And this little butterfly is just so cute. Looks like they're little friends. And then the Make-A-Wish is from the Sentiment die cut pack. I'm going to pop everything up with foam and give it a lift. I think that really elevates your card making when you add a foam to things. Love the dimension of it all. And I actually forgot to take a piece of the foam off, so you're going to see me peel off the fox in just a minute here, but such is life, you know. Anyway, I've been loving using the lunar paste with the embossing folders recently because I think it adds such a shine and elegance to any embossing folder, whether I'm doing it on the entire card or just in the corner. I love it. And that coordinates perfectly with these embellishments from Spellbinders. This is the Fashion Spruce, and I added a whole bunch of these. These have been in my craft room for a long time, so I figured let's just do more is more on this card and make it really cutesy and make it a little wow moment there. And how fun is that? Oh, by the way, the shaker bits are from the collection as well. They are satin gold sequins. There we go. Now that my foam's off, our fox can be a happy little fox. I had all of these die cut sentiments from the die cut sentiment pack, and I thought they were really cool because they are shiny and gold. So I ended up popping a happy birthday in the center of this one. I do not do that very often, but I'd like to do that a little bit more. But when I sell my cards at the boutique that my cards are at, I don't like to have anything in the middle because explaining what's inside can sometimes be a little clunky for sales, so I just leave it blank. But that one I plan to give to someone in person. All right, back to the brown bird card. I'm going to add some Copics to this. I have E35, and I'm just kind of using the stamped lines to give me a guide of where I'm going to add a little shading. Nothing intense, just a little. And that's really it. Then I'll take some double-sided tape and put it onto my brown cardstock. I've been loving using this double-sided tape. It is so basic and cheap. Yes, it does take a second to put on because you have to use the release tape. It's not as fast as a tape runner, but you know, I think that it is very affordable to use the tape like this, so that's what I've been doing. I'll again pop up my sentiment. I think this one is really sweet, and it definitely is a pop on the corner. It says with love. And I thought that I was finished with this card, but then I remembered the gorgeous gems from the collection. They are so pretty. They have a brown, kind of a cream color, a pink, and then a black. And in the black, there's actually some green flecks. Just stunning. I love it. So here is a very pretty picture of the finished card. I do love this one. Very mixed media, not subtle. All right, this hand. Ooh, look at the hand. This hand is from the other new collection from Spellbinders, the one that is called Beads of Friendship. And I chose to use this hand to hold this gorgeous flower, and this flower is from the Woodland Tales collection. So I'll just position the flower like I want it in the hand. I'm going to flip it over, take some tape, and just tape it down. No need to be fussy there. That looks right to me. I'm going to pop the whole hand up with foam, really load it up. And then I will line up the wrist with the bottom of the paper. And then I loved the sentiment that was so big. It says, enjoy the little things in life. I'm going to put the foam that is now double foam just on the edges, so not where the wrist is. So then it will be nice and level. So I'm going to skip the middle part with the foam. And again, that is double foam, so I just put two pieces on top of each other so it is still lifted off of the wrist. There we have it. This is a 5x7 card, by the way. Just thought I would mention that. And then again, I use that really pretty embossing folder from the collection and more lunar paste because that is just my thing now, I guess. I will embellish this with some of the black and gold gems. I think these are so pretty. Oh, I could just use these forever. Now the really chunky ones, I love putting on gift tags. So you can always use that and it's not so thick for mailing. Here's some close-up look at the lunar paste. I think it is so fun. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just use my finger and smudge it on. I do have several videos where I show that, so if you're interested, you can totally check that out. Here's a finished look at all of the cards. I definitely recommend checking out the Woodland Tales collection. I do have a link in the description, so if you're interested in grabbing anything, if you use my link, it does help me out. So I do appreciate that. And I also really appreciate your likes and comments and subscribing to the video. It definitely helps my channel out and it helps me be able to do this a little more often. I've been kind of taking a little bit of thought about my YouTube channel and where things are going. So if videos do well, I will do more like them, but if they do not do well, I will probably be pivoting things a little bit. So if you like something, please tell me, or things might change. You might have noticed my clubs are a little different than they have been, and that's been going well, so we'll see how things go. So let me know what you think in the comments, and be sure to subscribe for more videos like this from me in your future. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all of your support and your crafty love. Bye, crafty friend.